Alright, guys, thank you for joining me again on another early morning Wednesday Midweek Report. I know I said I was going to stop this shit, but apparently it's not going to stop, especially being that it seems like my Wednesdays are always packed now with something to do. I do have a funeral to go to in a couple of hours, so that's, the reason for it today. Don't know what it's going to be next Wednesday, but whatever. Nonetheless, thank you for joining me so early in the morning. I know you guys don't have to. You can do the replay shit, but appreciate it. All right. So let's get this started, so we're not on here too long. So I found this article, two articles actually, to be very interesting. The first one we're going to go over is the mother who was clinically dead for 45 minutes and wind up having triplets when she woke up, if I'm not mistaken. And so mom was clinically dead for 45 minutes after giving birth to triplets to a rare medical complication during labor. A Texas mother was clinically dead for 45 minutes after successfully delivering triplets during a planned C-section following a catastrophic medical occurrence that usually about 80% or 85% fatal. Marissa Christie, 30 years old, and her husband Dylan were excited but nervous when doctors told them during her first ultrasound for her second pregnancy that she appears to be carrying triplets. Yeah, triplets are there's always going to be a complication after two. There's a million complications with one, let alone carrying three. Let's see, carrying triplets. They were like, we're pretty sure it's twins. There might be a third one hiding. I was completely shocked. Anyway, Christy, 33 weeks pregnant, arrived at her scheduled C-section in Memorial Hermann, the Woodsland Medical Center in north of Houston, August 21st. Wow. My arms flew up, and that's when my heart stopped, she said. The anesthesiologist for the C-section, Dr. Ricardo Mora, realized she was essentially gray, and he knew something terrible had occurred. Mora, who said he was an anesthesiologist during delivery, where mom experienced similar symptoms 15 years ago, immediately knew Christy was experiencing an amniotic fluid embolism. No shit. A rare but often fatal birth complication. It's pretty catastrophic when it occurs. It's about 80 to 85% fatal. This is Mora, who's the anesthesiologist. I asked Dr. Samuel what she had done, and she related to me that she had just started pulling the placenta out, and that's usually when this complication occurs, separating the placenta from the uterus. Mora said he immediately called a code blue in a hospital emergency, indicating a patient. A code blue is when a hospital indicates that a patient is in critical condition. Normally it's a cardiac arrest or something of that nature. Knowing they need all the help that they can get during the dire situation. So when they call a code blue, again, that's like all hands on deck, right? So it goes from whoever's in the room when she's delivering to anywhere up to like 7 to 15 people in the room. And normally after, I think it's 8 or 9, which is a little too much, most people are in there to see if they can help. Normally they don't get the help, or they cycle in for ideas or CPR or things of that nature. Chrissy was hemorrhaging as they performed CPR. It got so intense that the doctor kept replacing her blood while Samuels tried to stop the bleeding by closing the uterus. Interesting. As they worked tirelessly to keep the mothers alive, Dr. Stephen Manicasco, a cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon at the hospital, prepared to place her on an ECMO, and a machine that works for the heart and lungs to help. Is a bypass machine, is what it is. Nearly an hour after Christy's heart stopped, the ECO was pumping blood into her as she laid unconscious. She essentially lost what we consider her whole blood volume. Wow. We replaced her whole blood volume, so for 45 minutes she was clinically dead. The doctors were able to stabilize her with the ECMO, but she again began bleeding and needed to be rushed to the operating room for emergency surgery. Anything that can bleed will, because you don't have the normal clotting factor. Despite using various medications and devices to stop her uterus from bleeding, nothing seemed to have worked. We tried to resuscitate her and prevent her from having a hysterectomy because she's young. Cutting into her was very, very dangerous. Finally, doctors were left with no other option but to remove Christy's uterus. There's a lot of little tiny blood vessels that in the normal circumstances will just clot and stop bleeding on their own. However, Samuel said since she was experiencing amniotic fluid embolism, if you close that up, what will happen inevitably is that all the blood vessels dump a bunch of blood in that space and it causes us to reopen it. Amniotic fluid embolism occurs when some fetal substance crosses from the baby's circulation to the mother's circulation, but is considered a very rare occurrence. It is a little bit like getting struck by lightning. Wait, good comparison. Oh, by the way, sorry guys. Thank you for the 5x5. Dan Phillips, Dana, Mystical, Pimping, Ozark Prepper, First Coffee First. Let's go, Raccoon Eyes. Thank you for the 5x5, guys. Sorry for missing that. My eyes are having such a hard time focusing today. So let's see. So the amniotic fluid substance, baby current struck by lightning. All right. Every organ system is failing immediately, so you need people to take care of every organ system, which is what Marissa, the patient, went on and are vital to surviving. She went on a machine called the ECMO. All right. Though uncommon, an amniotic fluid embolism is considered potentially fatal medical emergency. With many hospitals trained to take action, it should occur. Following the near-fatal medical emergency, Christy remained unconscious and on the ECMO for a week while doctors monitor her, hoping they did enough to save her. You can do the best CPR in the world, but if you don't get enough blood to the brain, essentially they're alive, but they're brain dead. Normally, if there's not enough blood supply and or oxygen to the brain, you become a mush for the most part. Let's see. Fortunately, doctors soon noticed she fluttered her eyes, seemed to hear people talking around her, a beacon of hope that the mother would pull through. Then her condition improved enough that she was weaned off the breathing machine and the ECMO. Essentially, she got stronger and stronger. Eventually, Christy was fully conscious but felt confused and thought that she was experiencing vivid dreams, though experiencing vivid dreams she thought she had throughout the pregnancy. She was told that her triplets, all girls, Charlotte, Kendall, and Colin, were completely healthy. However, the mother said it felt very surreal. I remember thinking, I don't know these babies. This is very strange. She felt like they're not real. No shit. They feel like they're not mine. They were already over a week old by the time she had met them, and it looked like it took a little bit to get that connection with them. But the strange feeling quickly faded after Christy realized the newborns could tell that I was their mom. No shit. They responded to me when I talked to them as opposed to other people. Christy explained that she decided to share her story to raise awareness of the amniotic fluid embolism and offer other hope if they or a loved one encountered a similar experience. Again, it has a high mortality rate, so it's good that she shared the story. I was more intrigued by her waking up. That's the more intriguing story. The fact that she didn't feel like she had those kids or she knew who they were, that's a very real confusion. That tells me that she definitely crossed the barrier to the other side. The fact that she had no recollection of them, and it seems like she had no recollection of being pregnant. That's a good. I like those stories. That means hopefully in another interview down the line she can elaborate on that, because she will undoubtedly have some of this come back to her. She will ultimately start having feelings of like flashbacks of what she went through when she was out for the 45 minutes. And in that 45 minutes, that could have been a week in her head. So hopefully they elaborate on that, because that would be cool. Anyway, next article is the border czar Tom Homan clarifies exactly how military will be used for mass deportation, debunking the frenzied liberal speculation. This is you can pass this article on to your friends, which I should have, but I didn't. Give me a second. See if I can pull it up. And I don't think I can. There was so for those that are following the Jordan Neely choking by Daniel Penny, it looks like Daniel Penny's going to do some time. Not surprised because of New York, but this is not looking good for him. All right, so I got the link. Enjoy that right there. Anyway, so President-elect Trump's new border czar is giving more clarity to exactly how the military will be used to aid in a mass deportation of illegal immigrants that the incoming administration has promised. Tom Horman, is it Horman? Yeah, Horman, sorry, who served as the acting director of ICE during Trump's first term, debunked frenzied speculations from some liberals that the military could get deployed to arrest people on U.S. streets, saying the service members would be used for non-enforcement duty. All right. They certainly can handle transportation, whether that's ground transportation or air, and certainly can help build infrastructure. He called the military's role administrative, intended to put ICE agents back in the field after up to 70% of the personnel were assigned to other duties while helping to process incoming migrants. The more non-enforcement work the Department of Defense can do, release more enforcement officers on the streets to look for the bad guys. Now, they are starting out with the bad guys, like I said last night, so I guess that's a good thing. Trump confirmed Monday that he will declare a national emergency and use military assets to deport illegal immigrants once he returns to the White House. The president-elect made his plan clear on Truth Social, where he responded true to a question. Good news. Reports are incoming at Real Donald Trump. Administration prepares to declare a national emergency and will use military assets to reverse the Biden invasion through a mass deportation program. Thousands of ICE officers and agents have been assigned to process millions of illegal migrants who crossed the border in recent years, and their offices are across the country rather than taking to the streets to make arrests. ICE source said that they estimated 60 to 70% of their officers are currently stuck behind a desk, and some of them have never made arrests on the streets for the agency. Wow, that's a lot of people that were taken off the streets. The sources said rank and file personnel are ready to begin catching criminals that Biden let roam freely in the country for the last 4 years without any consequences. One source said he can't wait to be out making arrests on the street again. Active duty troops are barred from carrying domestic law enforcement duties under the 1878 Posse Comitatus, if I said that right, Act, but the military still historically been able to assist law enforcement agencies in other ways. One major hindrance to ICE ability to make arrests will be with sanctuary cities that prevent local law enforcement officers from communicating with feds on the basis of immigration status. That's where the Boston mayor was saying she's not going to, go along with the program. But you have other cities that are undoubtedly going to say the same thing. So this could get interesting. Now listen, if any of these people do get in the way, I cannot wait to see how this goes down. I cannot wait to see if any kind of fighting is going to happen. Now, granted, because the military, they just said military doesn't have any law enforcement duties, they might not be able to do anything, right? So, but ICE could, and that could get interesting. So the military won't engage, but will ICE engage? And if ICE engage, how bad is that going to get? Active duty troops are barred from, when I worked with the National Guards, we would do things with the FBI, ATF, or the DEA. We would be doing a large bust, or we would provide overwatch for helicopters. We would provide drone support. We would do all of these things. David Yerkes, a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel and military defense lawyer. One major, we said that already. We said that. All right, so basically this article's done. So, very interesting shit. It's going to be more interesting to see this enacted. Now, of course, a lot of migrants, they say, are scared. I don't know to what, I don't know if that's true or not. I think I was downtown the other day. These people didn't look scared, like, at all. It wasn't the other day. It was yesterday. It was downtown yesterday. I decided yesterday to go boxing for the first time in 2 fucking years. I almost died. I walked out of the gym fine. I got down the block, and it was a delayed effect. Everything was all like, oh. I was walking in the street like a crippled retard. When I got home, forget about it. I dared not to sit down because I would have passed out from death. So while I was walking around the street, these migrants didn't look scared, like not even a little bit. So all of these reports that we're hearing how scared they are, it's bullshit. So, yeah, there goes that. Now, short article for those that are using contraceptives. Pfizer is accused of hiding contraceptive brain tumor link. Pfizer failed to warn patients that its injectable contraceptive drug, Depo-Provera, can increase the risk of developing a brain tumor. Now, the wife, when she got sick, she had a brain tumor. When she got pregnant with both our kids, the tumor wound up increasing inside. It was called a meningioma. So, interestingly enough, this is probably the same hormone that they used or mimicked. That's why tumors increase in size. So I found that to be interesting when I read this. So for several decades, manufacturers and sellers of Depo-Provera and its authorization generic and generic analogs had a responsibility to investigate whether the medication could contribute to the growth of these things. Plaintiff Taylor Dvorak alleged that researchers have found Depo-Provera and similar progesterone medications have been linked to a greater incidence of brain tumors called intracranial meningiomas. She seeks damages for her failure to warn. Damages on her failure to warn, defective design, negligence, misrepresentation, and breach of warranty claims against the pharmaceutical giant. Now, again, meningiomas, the one problem about meningiomas is that they come back. And when they come back, they don't always come back, but I remember when the wife had it, she was on this survivor group, and there were a lot of women on there who had this shit come back. And the only way to get rid of it is to get your skull cracked open and have the tumor removed. And then they use radiation treatments and things like that. So, unfortunately, this lady could have reoccurrence, which hopefully she doesn't. But if she does, it sucks. Because one lady that, again, the ex-wife knew, it came back 6 times. 6 times. Angry caught a case of the 40s. Yeah, man, of course. But, so I think after the 5th time, they cracked their head open. They took it out. And then the 6th time, she just gave up. She had enough. And keep in mind, guys, every time you get your head split open, whether that's an accident or it's surgery, you are different. You are undoubtedly different. And it sucks. So hearing her friend go through this, it was a shitty thing to listen to. When she finally passed away, the wife took it pretty hard because she got scared. So she got scared thinking it would happen to her. I'm like, you'll be fine. You went this long without it coming back, you'll be fine. Her friend, and she had other friends that when they came back pretty fast. They didn't take their time to come back. It came back within like a year or two. She's been clean for about 10 years now. So, again, it just sucks to read about shit like this. Anyway, there is a docket on this. Hopefully she'll win the lawsuit. Good for her if she does. But it's just a shitty place to be. All right, last article. Genetic discrimination is coming. Actually, no. Don't want to read that one. A stabbing spree in New York. That's what I'm going to read about. I only want to read about it because this guy actually killed 3 people with a knife. So, Monday morning, after nearly 2 weeks of buzz about how the recent election heralded a new era in American politics, New Yorkers were treated to a painful reminder of how much life hasn't changed. 3 people were stabbed to death in a separated incident across Manhattan. The perpetrator was a total stranger to each victim and attacked unprovoked. The man who was reportedly confessed to the murders name is Ramon Rivera. He's a psych patient right now inside of the Bellevue Residence for Men's Shelter. The psych unit, His history of arrest, incarceration, and psychiatric hospitalization date back 2 decades. This was a ticking time bomb, to borrow a phrase from our late colleague DJ Jaffe, whatever. We have a perp who's advancing medical deterioration and participation in criminal activities of mounting seriousness, all unfolded in full view of mental health and criminal justice professionals. And yet, for reasons best known to themselves, Those professionals declined to intervene to keep this man behind bars. Rivera had been charged again just a week ago for the same day that he left Rikers after serving 8 months time to third-degree burglary and third-degree assault. All right. Yeah, this will be the last article. So basically, guys, let's see. Best on himself. Rivera charged with third-degree burglary, but a judge still released him without bail. Excuse me. Sorry. A judge still released him without bail. Let's see. Despite a history of violence, both extensive and recent, including a May assault on a correction officer during his last visit in Rikers Island, at the Bellevue Psychiatric Ward, for some reason, the problem that they're bad, often that they are mad. For some reason, the problem is that they are bad and often are mad. With some perpetrators, the problem starts a long time ago. No shit. So basically, guys, they're blaming this psych patient for being released, and there are many of them running throughout the city. That's the problem. The problem is people like him or Jordan Neely create these crimes, and then we're supposed to feel bad for them. Now, had Daniel Cooper, the Marine, choked this kid out, that probably would have been okay. That would have probably been okay, right? But Neely, like I told people in front, because I told you Neely lived in this building, Neely would have eventually reached this guy's status. Because just a couple of weeks prior to him being choked out, he did throw somebody in the train tracks, right? So the fact that he pushed somebody in the train tracks, and before that he yelled or was violently threatening an older couple a week prior to the train track incident, he was only getting worse. And so, of course, now everybody is playing the woe is me game with this kid who was a psych patient. So when I talked to people downstairs, I told them that this was going to be an issue. I told him that this was going to be a problem, that he was just going to get worse. Sorry that I'm glitching and freezing. My computer's giving me shit right now. Not sure why. Got to take it in to get fixed. But anyway, Jordan Neely was just going to get worse. And yes, they need to be put in insane asylums, Eric, but for some reason, they're just not. It seems like, guys, that the judges of America in cities like New York are looking at the psych patients and going, oh, it's not their fault. We don't give a shit. The whole like the trans movement and, oh, it's not their fault, they're in the wrong body, wrong, whatever. The same goes for psych patients. They're like, well, it's not their fault that they're crazy. It's not. But it's also not our job to sit there and understand it, leave them outside until they do shit like this. So Jordan Neely was just going to get bad. And when I talked to the people downstairs about him, they're like, he shouldn't have died. I look at them like, are you kidding me? He was fucking crazy. And the kid was only getting worse. You can't make excuses for somebody. Yes, you watched grow up. You watched as a kid grow up and you knew him, but you also knew he was crazy. So let's not put that, let's not put that on the back burner. Let's talk about the fact that something needed to be done and something was done. Unfortunately, it was done from an outsider. And he was put to sleep permanently. And this is what's going to happen to more and more of these guys. Because I shit you not, I watch somebody, a psych patient, do something like that. He's going to get Jordan Neely. Simple. Anyway, guys, other than that, I'm going to go off the air now. I got to get ready. Go off, get dressed, do my thing, go to the funeral. I will see you guys tomorrow night. I am working tonight as well. So I will see you guys tomorrow night. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for dealing with my bullshit. Thank you for dealing with my bullshit computer. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.